Hey there, Shop Maniacs. You're listening to another episode of the Shop Talk Show podcast, all about front-end web design, development, and more. I'm Dave Rupert. With me is Chris Coyer. Hey,
Did you
Chris,
say responsive web design and development?
Responsive web design part of it. I mean,
or
if
is
you're
that
not
just
doing
implied?
it in 2025? I really have big questions.
You have some questions?
Yeah, I know some people who aren't, but it's kind of like, okay.
I consider it once in a while for specific things, but we'll get into that later. That's like a hook to keep listening, you know?
Yeah.
We'll do it right after the sponsor break. Do we have a sponsor?
Money.
I don't even.
Money's
sure
on.
we don't. We never have a sponsor. Where's Big Barbecue Sauce? Their god dang sponsorship. We need something. We'll take some AI stuff, whatever you got. I'll take your money.
Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, we are going to talk about responsive web design today because we have a special guest on who's been thinking about it a lot, believe it or not, Mr. Ben Frain. Hi, Ben.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Good. Thanks for joining us on the show. It is partially we'd have you on anytime, Ben. Ben is a gold star blogger. Just a lot of reasons to follow Ben's work, but to celebrate a 5th edition of a book called Responsive Web Design with HTML and CSS. Do we say HTML5 still? Is that the official title of it?
That is it, yeah. Leaving off the CSS 3 because no one could decide whether we're doing versions there or not. But yeah, the HTML5, I'm sticking with that bit.
Sticking with it. Okay. And is it out? Can you buy it?
It's been uploaded, so I think by the time this comes out, it'll be out there ready to buy.
It'll be available to buy from Pact Publishing.
Yeah, and all good bookstores. Probably some not very good.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Nice.
Some really junky ones too are gonna have it. That's funny. Well, I'd love to talk about responsive web design. I think that would be a fun thing to talk about this whole episode. But I think there's probably plenty of people that listen to this show because we happen to know that a lot of people we got our fan base in like '97 or whenever we started this show, and that's just who still
Locked
listens.
it in.
Yeah, it's me. I'm that guy basically from episode 1 onwards. That's me in my car.
Awesome.
Yeah. So and we grew up together. We did our little journey, and now we're all a bunch of senior developers or whatever. That's cool. So like those people, maybe there's some people that please everybody go buy the book, but that are like, yeah, dude, responsive web design, we get it. Like we read the article. Like we've lived through this.
Yeah.
So like no longer do we need a reminder or maybe even training on it. So, why now for 5th edition is the answer?
I'll be brutally honest. I think the biggest part is just once you get a title that does okay, and you're doing future editions, it's a lot more straightforward to just do another edition because people know pretty much what they're going to get. So the book has certainly changed over the editions in that the responsive web design bit you kind of done and dusted in the first 2 or 3 chapters, and the rest then is more sort of dealing with, well, what's the bigger picture here? Like, how do you actually do meaningful stuff with HTML and CSS, and what's the stuff coming down the line that's actually going to make a difference to how you get stuff on the page or build stuff going forward? So, the sort of pattern it's sort of taken the last 2 editions is it's kind of like foundational stuff to begin with, and then there's these chapters which you don't have to read through chronologically. You can just dip in and out of. And then the last sort of section, 2 or 3 sections, is like what's coming down the line, like what's worth paying attention to, from my point of view. Because so much stuff still, aren't we?
I can tell. I could just smell the editor making you put a little AI thing in the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like,
that definitely happened. I was like, I'm not talking about that, but I conceded and put like a paragraph in at the beginning.
Yeah,
nice.
I highlighted it because I'm just like, you know what? I don't mind it being there. They're probably right to make you do that, but it does have this smell of like, dude, I absolutely guarantee he was asked.
Do you have the same thing of like, because we've been around for a while, where I'm not really on the hype train with the AI stuff. I use it as a tool. But for me, it's more just about it's almost like having another developer with me that I can chuck stuff to, and then I still have to validate it and go, all right, well, what did you actually do here? Is this worthwhile or not? Or are you using it more than
that? Probably more than you are, it sounds like, but maybe not much more. And and I don't know. This is like a great conversation because I don't think there's enough writing and talking about this. I mean, there's more, but I think people are a little self-conscious about it because you're like, I don't want to write it because what if I'm a dummy and I'm totally using it like last month's, dummies are like a little bit like of self-deprecation, like. I don't know. All I do is like type in the little sidebar thingy, and it like helps me a little bit.
I found it weird as well.
Or like all I do is autocomplete. Is that okay?
Yeah, like
or are you like behind the times?
I didn't like the fact that I was kind of like, there's stuff I like writing, and I don't want to outsource that to somebody else.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? In a weird way, I've got this muscle memory of like, if I'm going to build a bit of UI, I don't want to just feed an image to this.
Oh, you just want to bask in it. You want to write that curly brace and feel it.
I don't know if that's just like because of muscle memory and age, and I'm like, I don't want to give up on that. It was the stuff that I like doing. But I'm getting better at that, I think.
I'm gonna send you guys something. I did a vibe coding exercise at work the other day and made a little portfolio. I can't even share it on the podcast. It's that bad, but it was. It was.
Well, yeah, it definitely struggles at visual design. I'll say that. And
yeah, I mean, I feel like we're probably in a good spot for that because the stuff that I get the most use out of it is the kind of stuff that I would typically struggle with and get a back-end dev or something to do.
Sure.
I can kind of conceptually I understand it, but I don't necessarily know the syntax, and I can explain that in layman's terms.
I wonder if because I think we all feel it. I've read that too. Like, yes, it's bad at design, and it's kind of bad at front end stuff. But I hear that from front end people, so I wonder if you think
back-end
AI.
people say this is terrible.
Yeah, exactly. Like you think it's good at the stuff that you don't know.
Yeah,
you're probably
right.
Like every newspaper article you read is like you think is good, and then until there's a newspaper article about something you know about, and you're like, what is this swill?
Yeah.
You know.
Look at this masterpiece. Dude,
Dude, that's incredible.
So
that's really good.
That's
that's for the YouTube people.
Imagine a child saw a picture of me and then decided to replicate that in SVG just through primitives.
I like the glasses, Dave. That's my favourite bit.
I like the little coffee mug.
Cup.
So it just ripped some SVG. It's like, why would I just grab a photo?
Why would I take the image when I can make my own image,
some SVG?
buddy?
Yeah, dude. This guy loves TypeScript. You put that in there. There's no way.
Did. That was not a real quote. That's my coworker John. We fight about TypeScript quite a bit. He loves it. I will never hesitate to point out its problems.
That's incredible work. Good job. Was that what LLM did you use on that bad boy?
4.5, buddy.
That's some cutting edge stuff.
Wow.
That's the only one that's even willing to
maybe
buy
it's
about
4.0. I don't know.
The thing that gets me as well is when you chuck it stuff and it goes, here you go, this is all right, and you go, no, that is not right, and it goes, of course, you're correct. This is what
that ego
just
placating
endless loop
thing.
of it telling you that it got it right.
It depends. I find it depends on my mood that day, because sometimes I'm like, don't tell me this. Don't waste my freaking tokens on your little back-padding crap, But if I'm having a bad day, I'm like, oh, thanks, AI. I could use that. I need that.
Take a blog post. Like, I think my personal struggle is like, I type this in, I wait 15 minutes or whatever it is to generate all this. It made a responsive site. That's actually pretty cool. But like, there's 300 lines of JavaScript in this website I just showed you guys. What's it doing? Who knows? But like, you don't need it. And so like, I wish I could get. I would appreciate a blog post or a list of people who are like, these are the things I'm like one-shotting, and it's just acing. And my quality standards are here. Like, I have a quality bar of 3 out of 10, and this, I feel like these tasks, it's just one-shotting perfectly, end to end, ship it to production. Because that's like,
for me,
it's always tests.
The stuff that
which I do that.
nails
That's great.
Is like array manipulation and stuff like that. Like, it's brilliant at that. Like mashing data up and put it in a new form and things like that. Which
I find it fucking great at regexes too. It can really dig into a regex.
I guess it's anything that's just super prescriptive, isn't it? Where it's like there's a right and a wrong, and there's no sort of continuum of quality.
That's where I like to give it credit though, because whatever whatever's built into this crap like cursor that's like very recursive, where it like you ask it a question and then before it starts doing any work, it like kind of goes back and forth with itself, extrapolating like a plan and like expanding what it thinks you want and stuff. And I'm like, I feel like that's some smart ass people are doing that. It doesn't just like take your input and then immediately just go to the LLM and just be like, okay, what files do I need to change? It seems like there's a bunch of work happening before it starts to dig into that. At least in my experience, pretty much is in cursor. So I don't like, have a, I don't know what Claude Code is doing and whatever, but it seems similar. And that's why I like to give it credit, because there's some smart people thinking about how that all works. Okay, I like this line in your book. We're early. We're on page 4.
We'll just read the whole thing. I thought that was a good way to fill an hour,
Yeah, sure. We could really burn through. Yeah, listen to this at 2.7x though.
Yeah.
At the turn of the century, it was that's my favorite line. I've already said it. It was reasonable to build websites with fixed widths, and you're like, oh my gosh, we're using that phrase now? That's amazing. But you were just you probably wrote that a long time ago in previous versions of the book. I don't know.
Yeah, there's definitely bits that don't get as much love as you go through the future editions, but
right.
It's
you were
easy
just trying to make the point. We didn't always do this. It's still,
you do forget that. I mean, I can remember. I'm old enough to remember it where it was fluid before it got fixed. Mm-hmm. So you remember, like with tables and stuff, where it was fluid to begin with, wasn't it? And then it was only
right. Yeah, and that was like, we're still there sometimes. That like a fluid column. If you only need a 1-column site, just having it be fluid between a min and a max is like fine sometimes. Is that responsive design still? Or
Slight tangent. What are the things that we sort of battled through? Let's say like the last 15 years or however long we've been doing the responsive stuff. There's stuff that's come along that's supposed to solve big problems for you, and then I end up just disliking them. Like, I'll give you my example. So for me, things I hardly ever use are
juicy
picture element and container queries. For me, just hardly ever use them.
So the first one is like not particularly spicy, I think, but you don't. I'll say I use a picture element every day of my life. You know why? Because WordPress just does it.
But that's what I was going to say. That's different than you reaching for it, though, and going, I'll use it.
It is. And it's almost like looking back, I think like that should have been the message more. Yeah. That, like, this was never really intended to handwrite. Like, it's good to know what it's doing under the hood, but it's so programmable or whatever. Programmatic. Or
There's
something.
a lot of boilerplate.
Yeah, just don't even deal with it. That's why, the evolution of it that made it a little bit more automatic. I'll tell you, one of my favorite innovations of that syntax was the sizes equals auto. Sizes was the very hardest thing to learn about it. Sizes was whack.
Was that the thing where you had to put like 75W or whatever? Or
you're writing media queries in there that are attached to the you're putting crap in your HTML that's only relevant to the current design of your site. As soon as you change that design, it's all wrong. Yeah. That sucks. But a lot of images, maybe most, question mark, are like lazy loaded. And so you don't need a sizes attribute if that image if it's like okay for the page to be already laid out. Yeah, that's great. So thanks. Anyway, container query is a little spicy, bud. I gotta say, not that I use it every single day, but like if you're in design system land or something where every single component you make is like digested in an unknown environment, you better as hell be writing some container queries up.
I have opinions there as well, but we probably best not.
I'll defend picture. I use picture for dark mode, like so I don't flashbang people with a video or I guess or like a big white image.
Explain a little more. Is the loading image white in a?
Well, let's say you say picture, and then you say source at media prefers color scheme dark or whatever, and you can, and that's because that's what I have set up on the site. If I was doing like a data theme kind of thing, I would need to do something different. But I'm just doing prefers color scheme. But you could even maybe now use like a style query or something like that. I don't know, but I'd be curious about that. Like, set some variable like color mode. But
Maybe.
But then I link to the dark mode image, and then I just load the
Oh, you have literally
light
different
mode
images.
Yeah, or SVGs, or you know how like you I don't do it all the time because it's like effort, but you know how like I don't know, you do a chart and the lines are black or something on the chart, and then you go into dark mode and the lines aren't there anymore. You know, like so you would want to like invert the image or
That
make
sounds hard.
Well,
Yeah, I'd just tell the designer at that point you can have one colorway and that's it.
yeah, I mean that's not a bad strategy either. But there is something.
The reason I say it's hard though is a lot of dark mode is not based only on the media query. I like that way of doing it. In fact, I like the simplicity of just follow what the system has on it. But as soon as you build a website and you put in your own toggle, which is recommended, I think accessibility people say you should have a per website override because you don't know what everybody's situation is. It's possible that they prefer one particular website one way over the other way that could possibly be different than what their system setting is.
Yeah.
So it's good to have the toggle. But what do you freaking do with the toggle, Dave? Now you can't count on just that media query. You have to be checking the toggle for which image you display.
Yeah, do I need a database
maybe
for you?
Maybe the
Like,
the style query is the right answer there.
I think
Anyway, it just seems like a lot. Hey, good luck, though. Good luck.
Sorry, my dogs are digging my yard.
I like
so
this
I have to
dude.
throw
So
a pen at the
Ben's.
window.
That's great. I hope it was like just a crushed Modelo.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, just an empty can.
Great.
Hey! I'm gonna do
Ben's throwdown was: is there newfangled features that that are like the hype was bigger than the juice is
Yeah,
less
the
than the
payoff.
squeeze or something?
Yeah, that's a perfect way of putting it.
I don't know.
What about layers? What do you think of layers? Cat layers.
I like them. I do wish layers were stronger than generic. You know, I think that's a hard one for me to be like. Oh, great!
Yeah,
I
you
can
usually,
just
when
come
you're
over
wrapping
later.
something, it's more important, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's kind of like a weird mind flip of like, hang on a minute, the stuff outside of that is the boss. I don't know, it's weird.
That's the only piece I'm still like, golly, did we make the right call? You know, like, but we could still have it. You know, it could still be like, whatever layers win. You know, layers win or whatever. But I don't know. But I that's the only part. Like but I do like them. I if you can like group your logic and your component logic and your utilities.
I think what would have
together,
saved you
it's
there
great.
is that you can't layer from the link tag, right? And if you could, then you kind of can solve this because your previously unlayered styles just become layered upon how you call the file. I think that's still on the table. I don't know. Maybe people are less excited to working on it because Ben's like throwing cold water over it all the time. You know?
It's my fault.
No, I also too, not to like, I author mostly in components, right? So like in Shadow DOM specifically. So it's like scoping isn't my problem. Like,
Yes.
I don't.
So using
have
like
this
Lit or
problem.
something like that, Dave?
We use Fast Element, which is the Microsoft version of Lit. Yeah. So and
Yeah, 'Cause that was the other thing. I looked at sort of at scope, and there's a bit in the book about that, and I went through
there
all
is.
that, and I was like going, I don't even. This is another example of I'm not sure the juice is worth the squeeze. It seems like a lot of effort.
I had to go speak at CSS Day and make a case for scope, and I was like, "All right, y'all, this is going to be rough." But I think I
you've obviously done more in it then. How do you feel about it now? Like, would you just use a different selector or?
No, it's just a slight net gain on the language of CSS. Like, I don't hate that it exists.
Yeah.
I don't care that much.
Yeah,
and I never.
think there's a lot like that though, isn't there? They do very specific things, and it's good that they exist. But
exactly, but the scoping that everybody freaking wants is selector scoping, and we didn't get that because we can't get that essentially. Like, it needs a different set of tooling to get that kind of. So sorry, I guess.
what do you mean by selector scoping? Like
CSS modules. Like, I want to turn my .card into .card XY127B, because if somebody else later on this project also uses .card, because who cares? I don't want to think too hard about class names, that those two class names don't conflict.
Why can't your CSS modules, instead of doing robobarf, just wrap the CSS you just wrote in @scope?
Maybe it could, but it needs to
I guess you end up in the
have
same
like a
place,
knowledge about the DOM that it doesn't have, you know? Like CSS modules be...
I guess this is where I ended up as well. I was like, I'd rather just mangle the class, whether I do that with, BEM or ECSS or whatever, or whether I use CSS modules. That just felt a whole lot easier than doing the scope thing.
It doesn't need to know about the DOM if you do the trick. This is a good trick that I find that many people don't know about @scope, is that if you put a style tag, like angle brackets style, like you could put, and you can put these anywhere in the DOM. A lot of people put them in the head because that's like the classic place or whatever, but it doesn't actually matter where you put it. That then if you write @scope inside of that style block, the implied scope, if you just start writing some styles then, is like the parent of that element. So if you had just a random div on the page and you put a style element in it, you can just write @scope and just start styling, and it'll style just that div and nothing above it, which is pretty weird to think about. You're like, I didn't have to write a selector to do the styling I'm about to do. I just didn't have to write one. I didn't have to name anything. I didn't do anything. And I then can reach down into the children as well. So within that @scope block, I can start nesting selectors that will only apply to that like DOM node child situation. Yeah. I think it's cool. And in my talk, I even like tried to measure performance on it and stuff, because I'm like, what if we did that? Like Dave is saying, like, what if we never mangled selectors? We only just injected little style blocks on every component on a page, which is, you feel like something like internally tingly bad about that. Like, why would I put little tiny pieces of CSS all the hell over a page? That sounds like, I don't know why, but it just sounds like something we don't do. But I can guess at the why. The why is that, I don't know, it slows down rendering or something. It doesn't make use of cache very well. But I'm not very good at talking about things like that. I don't know, especially without any data, whether that it really is impactful or not. So I tried to do some rudimentary testing, and everything I tested on was like, it didn't slow down the page at all. It was fine. But I'm like, I also was testing on my, Mac Studio or whatever. So like, I just didn't know how to subject that concept to like rigorous performance testing, unfortunately. So I don't know the answer to that, but that could be the answer. Like, what if instead of writing style sheets anymore, we wrote this system that just injected little style blocks under every component that you need, and you would do that if you cared very much about scoping. And I do think there's a scale of project where all of a sudden scoping matters, that you have all these different people working on stuff, and the risk of conflict of styles is high.
What's the number? 10 people? Like,
yep.
10?
I think I did. I threw something out there, or that it was, different metrics. Like I don't know, your 1,000th Git commit, or your.
I think I'd still end up the same route as Dave. I'd probably do that in web components though. Like, that feels easier.
I was gonna troll and say, like, what if you didn't have to stamp it out on every element? It just was part of the component.
Oh yeah, you're gonna tell me the styling story of web components is great. Let's hear it.
It is.
I don't mind it. I've got to be honest. I don't mind it.
Here's the good news about web components. It's very hard to break it from the outside. That's the story.
Yeah. If you shadow DOM it all up, which I'm coming around to the idea a little bit, especially with the advent of those. What was I hot on just the other week? Those like import assertions or whatever, where you can
with type CSS and stuff like that.
Yeah, because otherwise, like, how do you get a chunk of external CSS in a web component? inside of it, you know? And it's like, well, you just use a template literal and you just write the CSS as a string inside of it. And I'm just like, no, I won't. I'm not going to do that.
I think this is why things like React become so well, though, isn't it? Because like you can talk about the purity and such, but when you do stuff with React, all that stuff is just so easy. It's done with tooling rather than the platform, but generally there's no problems because you can just fix it with tooling.
You just switch your styling library every 2 years. You know, it's easy.
It's fine.
Who likes Griffle? Griffle.
Shout out. Ooh, I did have a favorite one the other day.
Emotion, styled emotion. Anyway.
Yeah, there's some fun ones though.
The last really disappointing thing I think that I've seen in this sort of iteration is the color contrast function.
Oh, you know, where it just does black
I never
or
remember
white.
which way around it was. It was color contrast and is now contrast color, or the other way around.
They just randomly switched it.
But the new one basically does nothing. It basically just gives you black or white back, doesn't it?
It does.
The original had like a. You could say like choose between this list, right? Choose the best
and then say
one.
I want this AAA or I want it AA or 4.1 ratio. But
it seemed better, but I think that it was in the backstory of it, like that got too weird and complicated.
It was the algorithm, wasn't it? It basically got to a point where it was giving you back something that it thought was better mathematically, but perceptually.
Well, now you're going to be really disappointing because the algorithm is still the bad one.
Right.
But I think the idea was it's a net gain on the web if we ship something, and the thing that they shipped is like iteratable towards the better version. Yeah. So like, take your gift, you know, we give you something.
Yeah, I won't be using that anytime soon.
Well, hey, so I'm looking at your book though. You have contrast color right after the color mix function. What if like you knew how to get to your color from a color mix? Does that make sense? Like you could do color mix, whatever contrast color thinks it should be, and then I nudge it.
It's kind of additive though, isn't it? That's the problem.
Yeah.
Like it's not. You kind of want it to bounce back rather than mix, don't you? I suppose.
Yeah.
I really like the
universal formula. Yeah.
The from thing is really useful. I love that one. You know where you do like RGB, pass it hex, and then you like.
Oh yeah, the relative color
syntax. Brilliant. I use that all the time now.
Is that in every browser? I don't know.
It is. That's good to use now, which is so nice. I too agree that it's a fan because I think the color mix. I mostly abuse color mix to do the transparent thing. Like I already have this color and I need a slightly transparent version of that same color, and the color mix syntax for that job is not bad. But it feels
I never
like
use it for that. I
really?
don't ever use color mix. I always use the
relative
color,
one,
and then do
because it's
RGB/50 or whatever.
Right, it's because your brain works good. But there was a period where color mix was much better supported than that was. I got a little more used to, if you just mix with transparent at 50%, that's what happens. That's what you get. You pass in Rebecca Purple. Pass in Rebecca Purple and say mix it with transparent 50%, and you get a 50%. But it feels like you're like, I'm going to the laboratory to make my little special mix, where you're like, I just want to manipulate the color I already have. Somehow it like feels like spiritually nicer to use that relative color syntax. Be like, start with this color and adjust its transparency value rather than.
I just love it so much more than taking a hex and trying to figure out, right, I've got 16 stops. What are the next 2 digits I need to put on?
Plus 5 whites. And
Well, in color mix, for example, you also had to, is this true in the relative color syntax? Do you have to declare what color syntax you're about to do your alchemy in? I think you do have to.
Yeah, you do, don't you? Because your function is like RGB open from.
Oh, yeah, and color, you say it. It's the first thing you say in the relative color syntax is, Oh, well, it's all good stuff, but a little funky. So about responsive web design, the book it has this like classic intro that I'll love forever, which is this like, here's a website that just has some like crap on it, like every other website in the world. And look, I'm not even going to apply any CSS at all to it. Look at how it looks on a phone. And it looks how you think it's going to look. It's black and white and it has really long line length and it probably doesn't help that the image is blowing it out a little bit or whatever. And then you do the like, look, I'm going to add one line. It's the meta tag, which I think is a nice intro. I don't think people even know anymore. Like that's just on websites now.
Yeah, I think you're right.
The viewport tag. But you're like, look at what happens. This one tag is responsible for like half of the quality of this page on thing. And then you're like, wait, you need one more, which is to make the images not blow everything out. So between those two things, you got a pretty mobile friendly page at all. And then it goes right after that and it says, well, okay, well, you know, still though, on a really big screen, that image is like maybe getting a little too big still. So we're going to just sprinkle in the tiniest little bit of RWD salt, which is a breakpoint, which in my primitive brain, I still think of responsive web designs as basically media queries. Well, I think Ethan himself kind of fought against that conceptually a little bit. Like, it's more than that. It's like these three ingredients.
Things, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm like, it's media queries. So, and then your media query just like, I don't know, it rips the image into a 50% or something at like a very large thing. And you're like, look, now there's a little bit of difference between how this web page lays out on a really narrow screen, probably a phone, and a bigger screen, probably a desktop monitor. And that's what responsive web design is, which just seeds the mind to think like, okay, this is like a way of thinking. I need to think about how this is going to be done and the numbers involved with what's happening. And that's what it still is. So maybe it's not fair to just take this for granted. It's like, it's taken for granted because we are like RWD pilled now.
I don't think we can understate as well just the genius of Ethan when he boiled that down into these sort of, you know, because these were disparate things that he pulled together. And sometimes people try and do that thing and it just falls apart. Whereas that really did become greater than the sum of its parts. You know, when it got like the fluid grid, the images, and then the media queries, and it.
Oh, those were the three things he said: fluid grids, media queries, and what's the other one? Media handling, essentially.
It was images, wasn't it? It was something to do with
like fluid media.
Images.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I guess you did reflect all three of them in the beginning of that thing. So anyway, that's that's like sets up the mindset that you need for this, and then it goes from there.
Well, I guess that's the thing. It's like that in a nutshell is very little work, isn't it, to make something fundamentally fine, and then the rest of it is like it's taking it from like the example that Dave said, where it's like it's a Noddy's version to something that's actually looks good, with all the modern stuff we can do.
What do you feel like is the challenge for responsive design? Or do people not get it? Is there kind of like a new young class that doesn't understand what's going on? Or
I almost think like for the next generation, it's probably going to be like we started at the top, where you've got people who are just asking a machine to spit it out some code, which they're taking, and then probably don't understand fundamentally what that thing is doing. Like Chris just said about the meta tag, there'll be an awful lot of people that they just put that in, but they don't actually know what it's doing.
Yeah.
And at some point, you hit up against the problem, don't you? And you need a bit of actual human intelligence to figure it out. So I kind of feel like, for me, I use the book probably as much as anyone because I dip in and out of it, because you can't hold all this stuff in your head. It's just too big now. The amount of syntax and capabilities. So I use it as much just to sort of go, it's more about understanding what's possible, and then you can dip in and go, right, okay, I understand what this is doing because I can see the syntax, as opposed to kind of holding the enormity of CSS in your mind, which is obviously just impossible.
Well, and back to your LLM example, you might be like, hey, I want to make my logo spring in, like pop in and go boing, you ask an LLM, it's probably just going to write a pile of JavaScript to make it happen, or whatever, or it might. I guess that non-deterministic, and it'll choose what it wants. But if somebody read your book, they might be like, oh, I learned about transitions and transformations and animations in this book. Either I need to write that myself or ask the machine to do that thing specifically. So that there's kind of like a world where yeah, this kind of hard knowledge, can we call it that, hard knowledge, is like super valuable just because it's you're not like just you know, okay, let's try it. You know, you're not just casting sand to the wind and hoping the result comes back that you want. You know.
Yeah, I guess so. It's a bit like if you were a tradesman and all you had in your van was a hammer, like everything's going to get fixed that way. Whereas if you've got a van full of different tools and you can kind of go, well, not only do I have all these tools, but I understand what each one can do better than the other. That's kind of where you hope to get to, I suppose.
Yeah, actually understand the trade-offs and stuff.
Yeah.
That's funny, an LLM would only ever know about trade-offs if somebody, I don't know, wrote a blog post explaining what the trade-offs were. You know, like it doesn't have any thinking in it, which I think, and another, I think, just unforgettable point of all this is that it's evolving all the time. And things are weighted based on like how often and stuff it's used. So you got a good example earlier with the logo. There's even on CSS tricks today, you like scroll down the page and then you scroll back up to the top, and it's just a really subtle thing. But the star and the CSS
Does he
tricks
still do
logo,
the twirl?
it spins around. Yeah,
It's been like that for years, hasn't it?
Yeah. I can't remember if I did that, or it seems like something I would do.
Yeah, I think it was you. I think it was definitely there before you left.
Okay. Is it an intersection observer? I can't remember, you know, or did I find some animation way to do it? I just like can't remember exactly what it is. But these days you could probably sort out some kind of scroll driven animation way to do it. But it would be weird. It's probably not a lot of examples of that on GitHub or CodePen or anything. So an LLM will not ever help you with that. It's not going to figure out how that works.
In 2 years' time, it will perhaps.
But... Maybe, but even then, it's like there'll be less examples of it. So if it's trying to decide you've asked me to do this job, which should I choose? Is it going to choose the one with less examples? Maybe because somehow they're date stamped as newer or something, but I don't know. You'd think that it would favor the thing that's done the most.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's certainly weighted that way, isn't it? More examples and more food for it, I guess.
Food. I like that.
Well, there's something to be said, too. Like, I like that the AI learner is kind of like our base use case, right? But, like, or, you know, but I think, like, what I find valuable is I take online courses a lot or read a book a lot because I have this like piecemealed knowledge of like crap I've seen on CodePen or crap I've seen in blog posts, and I don't fully understand, you know, how signals works or something like that. You know, I'm pulling it out of responsive for a second, you know, and so it's like, okay, like, you know, but to read like a full blog post or a full book that's like, here's how to build your own signal and do it yourself. Here's all the pieces that you need to like have like a fully reactive signal system. Like that's like valuable to me, just to get the whole perspective. And so I think that's, you know, I think I said it the other day with Matt Marquis' JavaScript course they just launched. It's like if you
JavaScript for everyone available on Piccalilli.lily or whatever that you are.
Britain. Good luck spelling Piccalilli. No, but it. We can put a link. But you know, it's like if you piecemealed your JavaScript knowledge, like I did, dude. Like having a course or a book or anything, just to be like, okay, cool. Here it is. Here's like an actual way to think about it. Like here's A to Z.
I wonder whether the AI stuff will also like it'll slow down in its efficacy because. I don't know if this is just from my own vantage point, but it feels like there's a lot less people blogging these days. And so if we go back to food, there's less food being put down, fresh food. Mm-hmm. So the AI's got all this sort of accumulated knowledge, hasn't it? But if there's less people, like if instead of going to Stack Overflow and typing questions and answers, if that sort of stuff isn't happening anymore, where's it getting its future food from? Because all it's got is the past. Because at the minute, all they're really doing is mining the past, aren't they? And giving you back iterations of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I could tell you they're scraping accessibility project, alleyprojects.com, because we almost got like our bandwidth. Like we almost ran out of bandwidth this month, and so it's
no, really? Because of that?
1 TB of robot fun. So it's just kind of
too bad. But it's like,
that
how do you
could've
feel
meant
about that from a perspective of like, isn't it? Do you
especially
feel like
with under new ChatGPT guidelines?
do you like on some level? Is there a part of you that's like, hey, you should learn this stuff?
I think that's cool, and it should be in the corpus, right? But it also shouldn't cost me $50 a month in extra bandwidth fees to support your dude. Like.
Yeah.
It'd almost be the other way around. Like,
I sort of feel like it should be the other way around. Like,
there was that thing, what was that thing where
put some pennies in the coffer?
There was a tag, wasn't there, where that you could put it in your head? I did it for a little bit. And
web monetization, the coil thing.
Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah, coil.
Yeah, imagine if all these LLMs
APIs,
had to use a coil, had to be hooked up to coil. That'd be awesome.
You wouldn't be here now. You'd be on your island somewhere, Dave.
Yeah, I know. I'd be at my yacht, my space yacht. I'd just be cruising the galaxy. But
my favorite is when the company benefits from it's the Reddit CEO that's getting the money from Reddit being scraped. Like they book a deal, right? And then who gets paid from that deal? It's not the authors of the content on Reddit. I don't know the details of it, but I feel like there's a WordPress one too. And it's like, WordPress brokers a deal. You can scrape all our sites now. Who gets that money? Freaking.
That's what you signed up to with your free account.
Yeah.
Sure. And I get there's a lot of nuance to that. It just feels weird. It's like if I threw the world's biggest stink about CodePen getting scraped because I wasn't making the money. I didn't make all the crap on CodePen. Y'all did. So I'm pissed on your behalf. Anyway, not that I'm perfect. I'm a jerk too, so here we go. Where else does this book go, Ben? Responsive
I think
web
the most
design.
exciting stuff for me doing it is probably the new stuff, and sorting out what stuff's really useful and what stuff isn't. So I really like scroll-driven animations. I think for me, they've been very useful. I'm already using them day to day a lot. Stuff that I tried and I'm still sort of on the fence with is like view transitions. I'm super glad they exist, but I feel like there's a lot of nuance. Like you can very quickly get unstuck with view transitions. And
it's
so I'm
hard.
kind of well, I think it almost lulls you into a false sense of security because it seems so accessible to begin with, and then as soon as you want to do something a little bit left of the middle, it gets very complicated very quickly. So
I had a rough week on them because I was just like, I just want to do this thing where every link you click, the entire page. This is not a good general plan. This is what was in my mind. It instead of fading out and fading in, that's the default that you get, right? I'm sure you get into it in the book. But instead of that, I want to use the basic hooks that we have, which are those pseudo elements, like old and new or whatever they are, and slide the entire page to the left and slide the new page in from the right. So the entire website becomes like a slider. And this is possible to do. Unfortunately, there's a demo. Sorry, Bramus, I think it's yours if you're listening to this. But it uses an unbelievable amount of JavaScript to do it, but with view transitions. It's newfangled JavaScript. But the idea is there's more than you want to think about with all this because there's the back button, for example. And if you do the back button, you want it to almost slide the other direction or something because that makes
I mean, you
sense.
can do all this stuff, can't you? But it's like layers and layers of stuff that you
But here's what got me, and this is just unique to me, and I hate that this exists. I should probably file the bug properly. But they don't work, or they work wrongly in an iFrame. And CodePen is a freaking iFrame. And I was like, why is this API so inscrutable? Why is it doing a weird double animation? It was freaking me out. And then I was just on a whim one day, I opened it in the non-iFrame view and it worked just how I wanted it to. And I was like, oh,
you haven't just refreshed the browser then? Chrome update fixed it.
There's a view transition and shadow DOM thing too, and I think it's the same constraint. And it's dude, really? Come on. Huh?
It's good because I think we're on a path where we can do those sort of things like you can in iOS, where you sort of morph from one thing to another. I'm glad we're starting to get these things. I just feel like it's a bit too hard at the minute to get the results you want if it's not something straightforward.
Just while I'm complaining about iFrames, I need to put this out there in case somebody from Google is listening, because this is very annoying to me. iFrames have like a permissions model. If you didn't know that, what you're allowed to do in the iFrame is dictated by, or it can be dictated by, a whole freaking soup of attributes on the iFrame. Yeah. And there's allow attributes, and then there's also sandbox attributes that kind of work the reverse way, where allow is like, I'm going to not allow anything, and then the allow makes it happen, whereas sandbox is like, it just disallows everything, and then, or whatever. They're like the reverse of each other. I screwed up mouth blogging that, but and there's just new ones all the time. So if you don't have it, there's no like way to know that until somebody complains to you. So my only model at CSS Tricks at CodePen for knowing if we are missing one of these attributes is just to like wait for a support email. Somebody would be like, why doesn't this work? Which I don't like. But all of a sudden, in the latest update of Chrome, or maybe the last 2 updates or something, you open the developer console and there's red errors on every CodePen embed on the internet, and there's about 40 of them. So it gives you the worst console noise ever that are complaining about these attributes being on the iFrame. And you're like, they're your attributes. You told me to put these on here, you know?
That's right.
I don't know. So I need to figure out what the problem is. But I need like a special channel, like where I get an email that says, if we're about to screw with iFrames, could you please let me personally know about it?
Because all that stuff won't come from the bug tracker either, will it? Like, there'll be some of that stuff that you could watch probably on iFrame on the Chrome bug tracker, but some of it will just be new.
And I know Brian Cardell's going to email me immediately about their new. Didn't like him and Eric? They made some like custom feed watching machine where I need to get that going.
The BDM or something, but that makes me think it's
like leather masks
adult.
And stuff.
Yeah. Whoops. Don't Google it. Don't Google it. Yeah. I'm on a work computer. Let's see here. I'll find it. I'm subscribed. BCD. Yeah, that's what I think it is. BCD Watch. Yeah. Don't go to the
well,
BCD
nobody will say
Watch.
you're not a surprising guy, Ben. Everything is surprising to me that you're more hot on scroll-driven animations than view transitions. I would also just feel, if I had to rank them, I would rank them opposite to you somehow. I'd feel like I don't dislike either of them, but I find myself using view transitions a lot more than scroll-driven animations. Just to, add some spice to this podcast. Jeez.
Yeah. I think it's just about things that I find I can practically use and get good results from. I mean, maybe it's just the lazy part of me, but I found I could pretty quickly get really impressive results visually from scroll-driven animations. If I tie that in with like transitions and stuff, it's like having an easy switch to get those things to happen rather than having to write a bunch of JavaScript, because it's all just done in CSS. It's sort of easy to see impressive results. I'm basically just after anything that makes me look good for the minimum amount of effort. And obviously, view transitions is definitely a bit more work. Anchor positioning I've found fairly useful, but I've already found a few instances where that just doesn't behave like I expect it to.
Which one doesn't behave as you expected?
Anchor positioning.
Oh,
so
dude.
I start using it, and I'm like thinking, this is fantastic, this is brilliant, and then I very quickly hit 2 or 3 things in a row where I was like, why doesn't it work in this scenario? And it was like I had an anchor position on a parent, and the thing that I wanted to position was inside it, and it basically just kind of wets the bed when you do that. So there's a bunch of those sort of things that I feel
it's supposed to not care.
It's not Google's blogging. You don't get it documented as well, and you kind of you get frustrated because you can't find that information, and the spec says it should do this and it should do that, but it doesn't always.
It does feel like back to your previous point about blogging, the like kind of dearth of like, I'm gonna just go solve this and solve it for I'm gonna post about it and solve it for everyone. Like, I think we've probably all hit that weird thing with anchor positioning where you're like, like. Or like there's some like even like minor differences between Chrome and Safari's implementation, but I know Safari's like things getting better, but it's like like, and so like it would behoove all of us to like post this stuff so that we can like just kind of and my solution for like whatever anchor names in Shadow DOM might trigger a thought for you to solve your problem or whatever. Like, it's just, yeah, unfortunately it is this like, you know, it's good and it is getting better, but there's these like, if you're not just doing the popover example, you just start hitting these like weird corners real hard. So
yeah, and I think like you say, they're the things that used to be figured out by people doing it and then documenting it, and it feels like, I don't know if it's true, but there is less and less people doing that. So they might be solving it, but it doesn't get written up anywhere because it's not in Stack Overflow or it's not on somebody's blog post, and so poor old AI is going to have no information to pull from pretty soon.
God, are you seeing that? Like it feels a little sad to me, but maybe true. There's just less
I don't know
writing.
if I'm just not getting enough more people to follow, but like my sort of RSS list is kind of like, feels like it's diminishing as more and more people just stop doing it. Which I think is a
maybe
bit of a
we just maybe there are, we just are.
We all became managers.
Or we just like, our social media is following the, people like us who are slowed down on that stuff, and there's new people kicking butt. We just don't know about them or whatever. I'd like to think that's not true, because I'd still like.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah.
Like my job is to stay on top of this stuff, and there's reasons why that might be happening. With whatever with different things being hot, like AI and whatever. That there's just less incentive to be blasting out blog posts. Although you'd think. Isn't it still like a good idea for hire? All these people are like, it's so hard to find a job and nobody has a personal website or blogs. You're like, isn't that still useful? Isn't that still like a good thing to do to be noticeable in this industry?
Yeah, I mean, you'd hope so, wouldn't you? But then I guess people would say, you just get the AI to write you a bunch of blog posts. But
yeah, how real is it anymore, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't see the fake ones either.
I think, though, for me, it's as much about, even like writing these books, I learn as much writing. It's not like I figure this stuff out and then I just spew it out. It's a journey for me, trying these things out, failing, and that's as useful to me as anything else. So the writing is almost be consolidating that knowledge, as I'm sure it is for you, and you both blog.
Oh, dude. It's, half of the time it's for me,
Yeah.
3/4 of the time. It's just like, so I remember this, or I get this thought out and think of it as a whole piece. Again, back to like the whole thing. Like, I want to think through a problem A to Z, right? Like, I want to.
Hey, that reminds me, Dave. I've got a question for you.
Sure.
I've read your sci-fi stuff before, which I've really enjoyed.
Okay.
Are you ever going to do an actual novel or something like that? Are you what are you thinking there?
Maybe. Yeah. I actually have like 10 stories in my Obsidian. But it's just time. I wanted to join a creative writing club this year, but they didn't email me back, so that's unfortunate. I could probably still join one, but it's hard. They're like, we meet on Thursdays. It's like, okay, that's like the night we have cheer and baseball and and girls' night. It's like, that's not the night I get to go outside the house. But like, it's just sort of like a. I have like some ideas. That's like, again, writing. It's like, that's for me to like think about the future, like think about the problems we have now. If we take that, pull that thread, what are these problems in like 20 years, 100 years, thousands of years? Like what was society or anything look like? It's just kind of like you just extrapolate, really. That's what's fun about sci-fi. You just kind of take an idea and pull that thread and see if it's weird or cool or bad.
You'll have to let us know if that novella or that sort of collection of stories comes out. I'll be interested to read that.
I thought about like making a paper zine, like write them all and then like just it's available on paper if you want it. Like I'll send it to you and it costs $2, or something like.
Yeah.
I've also actually submitted something to one of those sci-fi magazines from like the 1930s that are still getting published. So we'll see if that ever happens. But I doubt it.
You'd have a good chance, but maybe not. Maybe there's just so many.
There's a lot of dorks. There's a lot of dorks who are way better.
That's what I was trying to say.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they like. I say they have a different neurology that lets them execute way better than maybe I do, so
it's just practice and time, that's all.
And so I applaud
That's cool.
them, but yeah, it's very.
Well, it makes me think of this thing we talked about just in the 2 seconds before the show about this book and the why now and stuff, like how we started this podcast. That this book sells in your, what were your words? Okay, well,
yeah.
something.
Well, I mean, it's funny because I feel like the first version was like 2012, just shortly after Ethan's, and then I feel like, and again, I don't know if this is borne out by actual data or this is just my sort of point of view, is that a lot of people stopped writing books. So I don't know whether the book is of such high quality that it does well, or if it's just because there isn't other people in that same space writing.
Right, just like we talked about blogging. So they've not only stopped blogging, they've stopped writing books too. So you're the only one. And I'll tell you the first thing, like if I was looking for a tech book and I found it on some website, my eyeballs will just zero down to the year it was published, for sure.
Right,
I mean, even if it said 2022, I'd be like, no, ain't.
I mean, you definitely see that in the sales. Like you get with each new edition, you do kind of get an uptick. It'll be interesting to see how much of an uptick that is, or if it's a kind of like a line going down as more and more. I like to think people are still reading books, but I don't know. I guess at some point it'll fall off a cliff. But I can remember, Dean, I did like a video version of this same topic because everybody was telling me, the publishers and stuff, this is going to be great, and it just wasn't really. It wasn't really worth the time.
Even with your YouTube channel, like the videos didn't go, or
that's more just me being an absolute geek with keyboards. But I did an actual like video course for this publisher. It's like a video version of the same content.
Yeah.
So it's hours and hours of video.
It took months to do, and ultimately,
oh my God,
it just wasn't really worthwhile. So I tend to just stick with the books now because I prefer writing it anyway than doing it the other way.
It is. Yeah. Unfortunately, I do feel like the courses, it's almost like if you have the content, you can just read through it and do it. But it's almost like if you can just be casual and it's a workshop that you're doing on Twitch or online, and you can chop it up into videos, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, it's a different skill set, isn't it, I think?
Yeah. But to sit down and be like, I'm going to make 20 high production videos, that's like...
Right.
Yeah,
that's a
dude,
big deal. You can chip away at writing.
Yeah.
You can spend 5 minutes writing and have a little progress, but you can't do that with video. It's like you gotta just suck it in and be ready to go. I'm going to shoot one today. Here we go.
Yeah. You mentioned your YouTube channel. Ben, you're like the president of Weird Keyboard Club, and I appreciate it. You're I'm jealous, honestly, because people send you cool keyboards, but it's you have a great show. I just want to say it's cool, it's unique, it's if your hands hurt while you type, you should check out Ben's YouTube, huh?
It's fun. I mean that's the problem really, is because it's. I keep saying to myself, I'm not doing any more I don't want another keyboard because you've got all that muscle memory to learn and all the new stuff to do. And then somebody will say, oh, we've got this new keyboard and it does this, that, and the other. Do you want us to send you one? And you do a review, and I'm like, oh, go on then.
Yeah, okay, yeah. No, it's a cool channel. I'm jealous that you got in there. That's a cool way to. I don't know.
I hate to be weird. I just didn't even know that you did this, and it's very popular. Wow, you're definitely the keyboard guy. Wow,
yeah, particularly the weird ones. I think the weirder split ones is definitely kind of my niche.
Yeah, there's plenty of whatever kids in orange lit rooms going, ooh, listen to the thok. Yeah. There's plenty of this. Yours is way more here's what it's doing
I've turned
for
up the
my
geek
work
dial
hands.
all the way to 11.
Yeah, this is about being able to work. So if that's interesting to you, please check out my channel. Yeah, that's cool. Well, cool. I think we are at time. We do have a hard out. So, Ben, for people who aren't following you and giving you money, how can they do that?
I think website is benfrain.com. I do occasionally still blog. The website for the book is rwd.education. And you can get to anywhere else I am from those places. So thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. And
likewise.
See you again in another 7 years.
We'll just rebook it. We'll just Just book it out. We'll talk to our agent. But yeah, thank you, dear listener, as well for downloading this in your pocket choice. Be sure to heart it up. That's how people find out about the show. And we appreciate that you have been subscribed for 22 years, because we know everyone's been subscribed since the 90s. So we appreciate that. And then, Chris, you got anything else you'd like to say?
ShopTalkShow.com.